Now, without further ado, let's start talking about some games. Let's start breaking down some games here. I mean, we have a historic matchup in Columbus, Ohio on Saturday afternoon. It's big noon kickoff. Number one, Texas heads up to the shoe to take on number two, Ohio State, number two in the coaches poll, number two in the odds market, whatever you want to call it. I don't care about the AP poll at this point in time. This is number one versus number two. First time ever in history. We have that on week one Saturday. I mean, this thing is fascinating, John. The line, I believe, at last check, we are down to Ohio State minus 1.5 after it opened up at OSU minus 3. The total has ticked down a little bit to 47.5 from that opening number at 50.5. I mean, where do you want to start with this one? There are so many different angles. We got the rematch from the semifinal a year ago, even though these two teams are totally different. We got Ryan Day and his pretty much brand new coaching staff, it feels like, with Hartline coming back to BOC, and then Matt Patricia is the defensive coordinator against Sark, Arch Manning, Julian Sand. Where do you want to steer this thing to start?
I want to start with the quarterbacks. Who blinks first? Where is there a turnover early in this game, and who's it committed by?
I mean, I got to say it's going to be Sand. So I have some concerns with Ohio State's offensive line here. I think they brought in a kid from Rice that's going to be their starting left tackle, and he's going to be tasked with trying to slow down Colin Simmons all afternoon. I think Simmons gets to Sand, and Ohio State's going to be the one to commit the first turnover. Not saying that it's going to be backbreaking, but I do think that Texas and that defense is going to be able to force a turnover before the other way around.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you there. There are some astute observations, especially when Sayin was officially announced and his picture's out everywhere. A lot of people are saying he looks a little bit too much like Napoleon, which I agreed with.
Okay.
And so something to at least keep in the back of the noggin for this weekend. But I think beyond that. I just think that it comes down to which defense is able to dominate, and I think, like you said, I give that lean to Texas. I mean, it's a who's who. I mean, both of these defenses are I would argue, the two best in the country. I mean, Sonny Styles, Caleb Downs on the Ohio State side, Simmons, and a countless number of other guys I'm kind of blanking on at the second on the Texas side. I think defense travels here, so I do think that I've seen where I think Ben Fox, who's over at Yahoo, noted that according to one of the bookmakers, a lot of money is coming in on Texas that I think explains the line movement to Ohio State. Sure. Now just on one and a hook. He said it wasn't sharp money, which always kind of concerns me a little bit when there's a line movement like that. I feel like we're getting baited a little bit, especially when I'm on the side and in the direction that things are moving, because I've been of the opinion that Texas gets this done. And now we got the total. Everyone and their brother loved the under at 50.5. Now it's 47.5. That's a different conversation. I do want to hear your thought on how that how that ends up settling once the clock hits zero on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, I would have leaned under as well. I mean, that has trickled down a little bit here, but I really do think that these two teams are going to try to run the football on Saturday. So I mentioned the Ohio State offensive line, and there may be some question marks at tackle. I don't have the questions at the interior positions. Those guys all pretty much come back from a year ago, that national championship team, where Texas does have some inexperience at defensive tackle. So I'm wondering if that's how Brian Hartline, Ryan Day, and those guys are going to try to attack that defense and just keep running the ball up the middle. Will be interesting there with James Peoples to see what kind of day he has and what kind of stat line he has. And then on the other side, just one returning starter for Texas's offensive line, where Ohio State brings back nobody starting-wise on the defensive line. So who's more ready to go on Saturday? That's going to be a big question here. And then you also mentioned, right, the quarterback dynamic. I mean, two totally different dynamics, I feel like, here, right? For Arch, it's okay. It's like, okay, show us. You're like one of the most hyped quarterbacks that we've had in a long time here going into this season. So prove it. Where Julian Sayan's just like, don't screw this up. Like, we know you were a big-time prospect, big-time recruit, but don't screw this up on Saturday. You're at home. And so, John, as I'm looking at this game and I've been staring at this, I mean, my initial feeling, at the start of if you asked me 2 months ago, I would have just said Texas. And then I've kind of wavered on that and gone back and forth. And I'm like, oh, okay, Ohio State at home. They're incredible. But at the end of the day, I think the mismatch between Steve Sarkisian as the offensive play caller and Matt Patricia getting that defense ready to go, I lean Sark there. I take Texas to win this game in a close one. I am not putting a single penny on this game. I just want to watch it. But I like Texas to pull off the win.
I'm with you there, and I like as far as the total is concerned that we can get a 24-21 final
Yep.
and be on the under. I think we see a final score that settle in somewhere around there. I lean Texas as well. They just can't do the stuff down near the goal line like the Ewers play last
Yep.
year. Although Jack Sawyer no longer
That's
walking
right.
through that door, but ultimately. I'm saying hook 'em this week. But general question, we're big pressure guys. I've noticed. Who does have more pressure in this game? Because in this particular climate, you can lose the first game and it's not that big of a deal ultimately. I mean, you're going to have to wear it. Like, there's nothing worse as a fan than losing week one and just kind of having to sit and stew in it, especially when everyone saw it, like the way that we're going to see with this game. The ratings are going to be bananas. So, in your mind, who has more pressure with Ohio State being at home versus like Texas officially ushering in the Arch Manning era in a huge environment?
I think it's what you just said there. It's Texas for that reason. And all the arch hype that we've had over the summer. We've talked about how this should be the best defense in the country. They got some great skill players. I mean, Texas is loaded. This is supposed to be the start of this like new age golden era of Texas football. So I do think Texas does have some more pressure there on them. But either way, the headlines after this game are probably going to be toxic on either side, one way or another. It's either how could you be that hyped and then go in and lay an egg, or some bad decision that leads to a close loss? And then Ohio State, right? It's like you're the defending champs and you just lost at home, is saying really the guy. Did you make the right decision? All that kind of stuff. Should you have fought harder to get Knowles back and maybe try to get Chip Kelly to stay another year? So either way, there's going to be some wild headlines, I think, after this one.
It is going to be crazy. It's like kind of it's always been on the radar of just how much this is the central focus of week one, but the magnitude of it is really kind of sinking in. And then I don't know how many Buckeye fans you interact with on Twitter or in your circle. I find that they are highly represented on Twitter and in my little groups and everything. I love them as people, but as fans, they very much bother me. They're getting big chests out there as we get closer to the game. They've been talking very diplomatically all summer, but Buckeye Nation, I feel like for the most part, I'm seeing a lot of I snuck some Ohio State -6.5 tickets out there. I'm doing a
Ooh.
little alt line action here on my Buckeyes. So
I mean,
interested to see.
I don't hate that because if Ohio State wins, I feel like they would be. If Ohio State is to win this game, I do see them like pulling away, if that makes sense. Where I feel like
Yeah.
if it gets down to crunch time here and there's like someone needs that last second drive, I would lean Texas. Where more likely if the path I think for Ohio State to win this game would be they win this one with a little more comfort and wiggle room there.
Okay, fair. So like if this ends up being not comfortable necessarily, but a larger margin, it's probably going to be the Ohio State side with them being at home. And we forgot to say it entirely. Just toss it. One last thing. I'm excited to watch Jeremiah Smith play football again. I just can't wait for that.
How could you not? And I'll just tie a bow with a couple of gambling notes for you hooligans out there. Texas 5-1 against the spread in the last 6 openers, 6-0 straight up. But since 2006, 1-6 against the spread against Big Ten opponents for the Longhorns. Interesting trend there. And then on the other side, Ohio State 0-3-1 ATS in their last 4 openers. They are 4-0 straight up, and they are just 2-3 against the SEC under Ryan Day. Both those wins, though, did come last year in the college football playoff on their way to winning the national title.